Good day everyone, senior high school students, normal probability distribution. So for our topic for today, we will continue our discussion about empirical rule. So for empirical rule, the normal curve follows the empirical rule, also called as 68, 95, 99.7% rule. So for this topic, this will give you an idea about the percentage formed by the different regions under the normal curve. So let's say we have a given problem. So we have the distribution of grades of senior high school students in statistics and probability for third quarter. So to form a normal curve, construct lang muna tayo ng curve and then consider the scores or grades of the senior high school student ranging from 75 to 99. As you can see in this diagram or illustration, the mean of this normal curve is equal to 87. And then if you want to determine the standard deviation of this given problem is equal to 4. The standard deviation is equal to 4. And then another thing, if we will divide this given curve into two sections, we have left side and then we have right side. For left side, these are the scores. You have 83, 79, and then 75. So for left side, you have to subtract yung standard deviation natin from the mean. So since the standard deviation is equal to 4, so you have to subtract yung 87 by 4 to get 83. So this means it is one standard deviation to the left of the mean. So the same with 79, 84, 83 minus 4 is equal to 79. So 79 minus 4 is equal to 75. So you have two standard deviation to the left of the mean and then three standard deviation to the left of the mean. So the same thing on the other side, 'di ba? Based on our property, meron tayong property for normal curve na yung left side natin is also the same in terms of region for the right side. So you have the scores like 87, 91, 95, and then 99. For the right side, you have to add yung value natin for the standard deviation. So since the standard deviation is equal to 4, so 87 plus 4 is 91, 91 plus 4 is 95, 95 plus 4 is 99, and 87 to 91, we have one standard deviation to the right, and then 87 to 95 naman, two standard deviations to the right. And then lastly, for 87 to 99, you have three standard deviations to the right side of the given mean. And then another thing, for empirical rule, ang pinaka-i-stress talaga ng topic natin is about the percentage formed by the given mean with the unit, like for example, the standard deviation. Itong 1, 2, and 3 natin and other, on the other side. So let's say for this part, yung 87 natin and 83, you have one standard deviation to the left. So meron tayong 34% of our grades lie on that given region. So let's say 34% of the students scored 83 to 87. The same thing on the other side, yung 87 to 91, you have 34% of the students lie yung grades natin within that given interval. So 87 to 91. So on the other hand, you have 79 to 83, you have 13.5% to the left. And then from 91 to 95 naman, 13.5% din. So mag-apply dito yung ruling natin na yung normal curve natin is symmetrical. So next thing, yung 75 to 79 is 2.35%. Then 95 to 99 is also 2.35% of our scores or data. So next natin, approximately 68% of the area under the curve falls within one standard deviation from the mean. So we will go back dun sa illustrations natin mamaya. So for this part, let's say you have a given normal curve, and then itong part na to, yung 75 to 99, these are the raw scores or the grades of the senior high school students. And then yung data like -3 up to +3, these are the C-scores. Again, these are the C-scores. It is a type of a curve with a mean of 0 and then a standard deviation of 1. So ito siya. Pag left side, So you have to use negative numbers. So 1 standard deviation to the left, negative 1 yon. 2 standard deviation to the left, you have negative 2 in terms of C-score. Then negative 3 for 3 standard deviation to the left. On the other hand, for the right side, so use positive terms for the standard deviation to the right. So 91 is 1 standard deviation to the right. 95 is 2 standard deviation to the right, and then 99 is 3 standard deviation to the right. So to form yung 68% natin, iba based on our illustration, yung 83 to 87 is 34% of our data, and then yung 87 to 91 is also 34% of our given score. So combine natin siya, 34% plus 34% is equal to 68. So meaning 68% of values are within 1 standard deviation of the mean. So 1 standard deviation to the left and then 1 standard deviation to the right. So for our interpretation, 68% of data lies within 1 standard deviation from the mean. And then if you will notice yung raw scores natin, or yung grades of the senior high school student will range from 83 to 91. So meaning 68% of the students might score 83 to 91 in terms of their grades. Next natin for number 2, approximately 95% of the area under curve falls within 2 standard deviation of the mean. So we will just continue yung illustration natin kanina. So consider the same problem or the same situation. Since you have 2 standard deviation of the mean, so 2 standard deviation to the left and also 2 standard deviations to the right. 'Di ba? Yung 83 to 91 kanina is already 68%. So how about yung 79 to 83, 91 to 95, or as overall 79 to 95. So paano po siya? So ito yung distribution natin in terms of the percentage. For 79 to 83, you have 13.50. 91 to 95, you also have 13.50. So 68 plus 13.50 plus 13.50 is equal to 95%. So meaning 95% of values are within 2 standard deviation of the mean. Again, 2 standard deviations to the left and then 2 standard deviations to the right. So for the interpretation, 95% of the data lies within 2 standard deviations from the mean. Then for our raw score, so the grades of the senior high school students will range from 79 to 95. So next natin, for the last part, nearly the entire distribution, about 99.7% of the area under the curve falls within 3 standard deviations of the mean. So consider the same problem. So 3 standard deviation to the left of the mean, then 3 standard deviation to the right of the mean. So kanina, from 79 to 95, you have 95% of your data lies within that interval. How about yung 75 to 79? You have 2.35%. 95 to 99, you also have 2.35%. So from 79 to 95, you have 95%. Then add natin yung 2.35 and also 2.45, you will have 99.7 or 99.70%. So 99.7% of the values are within 3 standard deviations of the mean. So for our interpretation, 99.70 or 99.7% of the data lies within 3 standard deviations from the mean, and for our raw scores, it will range from 75 to 99. So if you will notice, 'di ba, 99.7 lang yung area na na-form natin from 3 standard deviation to the left of the mean and also 3 standard deviations from the right of the mean. So nasaan yung 0.3? Nasaan po yung 0.3? Yung 0.3 natin na-produce yun because of our property for normal curve. Di ba meron tayong property na yung tail natin or tails of the normal curve are asymptotic with our baseline. So, di ba when you say asymptotic, di ba? Approaching but never touching. So, meron siyang 0.3 0.15 for this side and also 0.15 on the other side. So 0.15 plus 0.15 is also equal with 0.30 or 0.3 to form yung 100% of our area or data. So next natin you have example. So for this example, suppose the weights of Filipino grade 11 students are normally distributed with a mean, so we use this symbol for mean, of 52 kilograms and a standard deviation of 1 kilogram. So first thing, consider this question. What percent of weights are between 50 to 54? So what percent of weights are between 50 to 54? So first step, construct a standard normal curve. So meron na tayong standard normal curve for this given. Next natin, upon determining the or constructing a standard normal curve, lagyan na natin yung mga data natin. So since you have mean as 52, so yung center number natin dito is also equal with 52. Then since you have the standard deviation of 1, we will going to construct or write terms. On the right side, you have to add 1. So 52 plus 1 is 53. 53 plus 1 is 54. 54 plus 1 is 55. And on the left side, since left side siya, you have to subtract the standard deviation with our mean. So 52 minus 1 is 51. 51 minus 1 is 50. Then 50 minus 1 is equal to 49. So you have the raw scores of the weights of the Filipino grade 11 students for this given problem. So next natin, since we are looking for the weights between 50 to 54, so construct lang tayo ng line for 50 and also for 54. And then you have to shade this region. Kasi hanapin natin yung percent or percentage of this score ranging from 50 to 54. So next natin, these are the C-scores. 'Di ba? Yung 52 with 51 and also with 50, you have two standard deviations to the left. Then 52 to 53, 52 to 54, you have two standard deviations to the right. So meron ka ng idea about the nature of the graph. So you have two standard deviations from the mean. So these are your choices. So one standard deviation is equal to 68%. Two standard deviation is equal to 95%. Then three standard deviation is equal to 99.7%. If you will notice, di ba, yung 50 to 54 falls within the idea about two standard deviations from the mean. Isa sa left, isa sa right side. So meaning, by this diagram or illustration, two standard deviation is equal to 95%. So for letter A, so for our answer, the weights of 50 to 54 falls within the two standard deviations from the mean. So left and right siya. Therefore, the weights that falls between 50 and 54 is approximately 95% of the distribution. So we're done with letter A. How about for letter B? So consider the same problem. What scores fall within 68% of the distribution? So this time around, pinag-interchange naman natin. So you have the given percent and then you have to determine the scores of that 68% of the distribution. So the same approach, construct a standard normal curve with the following weights of the Filipino students ranging from 49 to 55 with a standard deviation of 1 and a mean of 52. Then, lagyan lang natin yung mga C-scores natin ranging from -3 up to +3. So, for letter B, these are your choices. So, 68% is equal to 1 standard deviation from the mean. 95% is 2 standard deviations from the mean. 99.7% is 3 standard deviations from the mean. So you have 68%, 'di ba? Based on this given problem. So nasaan yung 68%? 'Di ba? 68% is equal to 1 standard deviations from the mean. So 1 standard deviation to the left and then 1 standard deviations to the right. Since the standard deviation is equal to 1, so 52 minus 1 for the left side, so you have 51. Then 52 plus 1, since papunta siya sa right side, So add the standard deviation of 1, so you will have 53. So for this given problem, our answer is, since 68% of the distribution lies within 1 standard deviation from the mean, so for left side and also for the right side, then the weights correspond to this area of distribution are weights from 51 to 53. So ito siya. Ito yung raw scores natin. You have 51 to 53 kilograms. Then for letter C, a grade 11 student with a weight of 55 kilograms. What is the C-score? Again, for this given question, consider this example problem. So for letter C, construct a given standard normal curve, then the same values for the raw scores or the weights of Filipino grade 11 students, and then this time you have to determine the C-score. You have to determine the C-score. Iba kanina ko pa siya pinapakita, yung 49 to 55, these are your raw scores. And then yung negative 3 natin up to positive 3, these are your C-scores. Again, these are your C-scores. So in this illustration, yung 55 natin, and then for the raw score, ang equivalent niya for the C-score is 3. So meaning you have a score or a kilogram that is 3 standard deviation from the mean. So since positive siya, you're expecting na dapat yung data mo is greater than with the mean since you have a C-score of positive. Siyempre kung nasa kabila ka naman, if you have negative C-score, you're expecting na yung data mo is less than with the mean. So for this given problem, for letter C, our answer is equal to 3. So a grade 11 student with a weight of 55 kilograms has a C-score of negative 3. Or as a C-score of a positive 3. Again, a positive 3 po for this given problem. Siyempre, kung babalik ta rin naman natin siya, let's say, given si C-score, and then you have to determine the weight of a grade 11 student, ganun pa rin yung magiging approach. Let's say, the given C-score is equal to 1, determine the weight of the grade 11 student. So the weight of the grade 11 student corresponds to 53 kilograms based on this given problem. So we're done with that part. Next topic natin is about standardized normal distribution. So for standardized normal distribution, ang aim pa rin natin dito is to solve for the value of x and also for the C-score. Yung value of x natin, by the way, is these are our raw scores. This time around, for standardized normal distribution, aside with integers, dun sa mga positive terms natin and also negative terms, we are also expecting decimal terms, whether negative man siya or positive. So these are the steps. So to convert a value or the value of x, like for example, the raw scores, to a standard score or also known as the C-score, you have to follow the following step. So for step 1, subtract the mean from the given value or the raw score. For step 2, then divide the result by the standard deviation. Then I will express lang naman itong step 1 and step 2 into equation. So you have C equals x minus the mean, ito siya, yung step 1, divided by the standard deviation, ito yung step number 2, wherein x is equal to the raw score, and then this symbol mu is equal to the mean, and then this is the symbol for sigma or the standard deviation. So next natin, consider this given problem. Scores on a statistics test have an average of 25 with a standard deviation of 5. So what is the C-score for a student who scored 22 on a test? So for this given problem, ang keyword natin is the word average. When you say average, it is also equal with the term mean. So for this problem, the mean of the scores is equal to 25. And the standard deviation is equal to 5. This time around, you have to determine the C-score of the student. This time, we are not expecting na eksakto yung magiging sagot natin. We are more expecting na yung value ng C-score natin will lie with the idea na meron tayong decimal terms or digit. So for our given, consider the value of x, then mean and the standard deviation. So for this problem, yung value ng x natin is equal to 22, and then yung value ng standard, yung mean natin or average is equal to 25, and yung standard deviation natin is equal to 5. So we're done with the given. Next natin is you have to construct a standard normal curve. Ito lang po siya. Then followed by the following scores. So kung yung mean natin is 25, so you have 25 at the center, then standard deviation of 5. So going to the right, add lang tayo ng 5, so you will have 30, 35, and 40. Then going to the left, you have to subtract the standard deviation of 5. So 25 minus 5 is 20, minus 5 is 15, minus 5 is 10. And then these are your C-scores, ranging from -3 and +3 to +3. So for that, next thing na gagawin natin is we have to use this formula. So for this formula, you have C is equal to X minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So for C is equal to 22 minus 25, since the value of X is 22, and then the value of mean is equal to 25, and the standard deviation is equal to 5. And the next thing is we have to simplify this given. So 22 minus 25 is equal to -3. Then copy yung denominator natin is 5. So next thing natin is you have to divide -3 by 5. So -3 divided by 5, so you will have C is equal to -0.6. So we have a negative C score since yung value ng X natin is lesser than or um, lesser than the value with our mean or average, di ba? Meron tayong 22 lang dito eh. Ang average kasi natin is 25. Siyempre, if you have a given score or data which is higher than 25, we are expecting na yung value ng C natin is positive. But in this case, since 22 lang yung score natin and the average is 25, we are expecting na yung C score natin is equal to negative. We are expecting the value of our C score is equal to negative. So ito yung illustration natin, yung negative 0.6 within the interval siya ng -1 and 0. So dito siya makikita within this given section or region. So answer, the student who scored 22 on the test has a C score of -0.6. Next example, grades of the students in Caloocan High School in statistics are normally distributed with a mean of 80% and a standard deviation of 3%. The grade of Cassie has a C score of 2.5. What is the actual score of Cassie? So this time around, ang unknown naman natin is the value of X, and then you have the value for the C score. Ang i-determine natin is yung actual grade of the given student. So for this problem, identify the given. So you have the terms like Z, you have the mean and then the standard deviation. Yung C natin based on this problem is equal to 2.5. So you have 2.5 standard deviation, and then you have from the mean, and then you have the mean of what? Ang mean natin dito is 80%. So I will write this part as 80, and the standard deviation of this problem is 3. So, ilagay ko lang siya. Next natin is, syempre, you have to construct a standard normal curve. So, meron na tayong mga terms dyan. Since the mean is equal to 80, then you have a standard deviation of 3. Add lang tayo ng 3 to the right side. So, you have 83, 86, and 89. And then, since the standard deviation is 3, going to the left side, you have to subtract yung mean natin by 3. So, you will have 77, 74, and 71. So next natin, use this given formula. By the way, since ang unknown natin is the value of X, we have to derive the value of X using this formula. So meron pa tayong derivation of formula. So to derive this formula, copy this formula, and then consider the denominator of this part. So you have to multiply the value of C by the standard deviation and this fractional part by the standard deviation to eliminate the fractional part of this formula. So, eliminate the fractional part of this formula. Ito, kailangan matanggal natin to. So, next thing natin is we have to simplify. So, standard deviation times C is equal to C standard deviation or standard deviation C equals X minus mean. So, ito na siya. Then, next thing natin, by applying addition property of equality, so you have to add mean on this side and also on the other side para yung X na lang yung maiwan natin. So by adding, we can eliminate this section and then you will have mean plus z times the standard deviation is equal to x. Then we can also rewrite itong part na yan as this, and we can also rewrite itong given formula natin in the form wherein yung x yung nasa unahan. You have x is equal to the mean plus c times the standard deviation. So we can use this formula already. So next natin, you have x is equal to mean plus z times the standard deviation. Since given naman na sa lahat, you have to substitute the value of z, standard deviation, and also per mean. So ito na siya. X is equal to 80 plus 2.5 times 3. So apply Gemda's rule, multiply 2.5 by 3, and then add this result by 80. So 2.5 times 3 is equal to 7.5. Then copy 80. Then lastly, add 80 and 7.5 to get 87.5. So you have Cassie has an actual grade of 87.5 or 88% in whole number. So for our illustration, ito siya. Yung 87.5 within the interval 86 to 89. And if you will try to relate dun sa mga C-scores natin or standard deviations natin from negative 3 up to positive 3, yung 2.5, ito siya, yung 87.5 natin in this illustration. Dapat between 2 and 3 yung given term natin. Then lastly, for our answer, the actual grade of Cassie is equal to 87.5%. So that's all for our discussion, senior high school students. Thank you for listening. God bless and stay safe.